I'm not going to, I don't see the red light.
You don't? I do.
Okay. If you see it, that's fine. That's all it needs. If it's on, it's on. All right. At any rate, I'm not going to read a text, but I want you to turn to the 2nd chapter of Matthew. And down about, beginning at the verse 13, for about the next 10 verses. I'm going to speak from those 10 verses today. I'm not necessarily going to read any of the text, so you can follow and correct me at the end of the service where I made a mistake on those, okay? This little story I ran across, pardon me? A little story I ran across that the South Carolina Department of Labor got a complaint that a small Timminsville farmer was not paying his hands the proper wages, and so they sent an agent down there to check him out. So the agent comes down and introduces himself and tells the farmer what his business is there. And he says, I need to see a list of your employees and how much you pay them. Well, the farmer said, well, I have a farm hand, and I pay him, he's been with me about 3 years, and I pay him $200 a week, and I furnish him free board and rent. And then there's the mentally challenged worker. He works about 18 hours a day, does 90% of the work around here. He gets paid $10 a week, and on the weekend I buy him a bottle of spirits every Saturday night so he can cope with life. He occasionally sleeps with my wife. Government agent said, now that's the guy that I want to talk to. And the farmer said, well, that would be me. Well, we say Christmas is come and gone. Maybe it hasn't. Maybe you are still in a festive mood. Maybe you're still enjoying whatever Santa Claus might have brought you. Or maybe you didn't get what you wanted and you were a little disappointed. Or maybe you even find yourself humming some familiar Christmas carol. I noticed the other day, I don't know, one day this week after Christmas, I was humming a little song. Have yourself a merry little Christmas, and I did. But it was all past Christmas. But during the celebration, and in a symbolic sense, through sermons, through our participation in worship, through hearing the Christmas story over again, and we never get tired of reading that story. We never get tired of hearing it, I hope. I'm always excited to read the 2nd chapter of Luke, read the 1st chapter of Matthew about the birth of Jesus Christ and what took place as best as it's been recorded. But what we did in a symbolic sense, in a way, we kind of traveled along with the shepherds. We heard again the birth announcement from heaven as the shepherds were in their field tending their flocks. They were there on a night, probably had a fire to knock away the chill, keep the animals away from attacking their sheep. And then all of a sudden there is a divine messenger in heaven with one of the most stupendous announcements I've ever heard. And as soon as he finished making his announcement, a whole host, I don't know how many is in a host, but I like to think the whole skies above them just lit up with voices, and they sang their Gloria, and as soon as they had appeared, they also disappeared. We accompanied these shepherds as they left their sheep and went into Jerusalem to see what they had heard and to see about this birth announcement. And quietly and reverently, we with them entered the stall, the manger scene. And we stood in amazement, as they did, around this little cradle in which lay the God-child. We accompanied the Magi from the east as they followed a most unusual star. We entered Jerusalem with them as they sought he who was born King of the Jews. We traveled with them to the place where he was. We entered the house with them. We watched as they gave out their gifts, frankincense, myrrh, and gold, 2 gifts that were used to always anoint a body at death and then go representing loyalty. We watched them as they prostrated themselves. We didn't have any great gifts to give them. We didn't have anything but ourselves. Maybe that was the best gift of all. And maybe in this Christmas season, and we've heard this story over and over again, maybe we have decided to rededicate our life to be the kind of witness, to be the kind of Christian that God would have us to be for the rest of our time here on earth. As festive as they are, the Christmas holidays are dangerous for some people. Some people commit suicide, particularly senior citizens, for a variety of reasons. Depression, feelings of loneliness, the sense of great loss of some loved one who's been dead maybe some time. But yet at Christmas time, it just seems to be more intense. And for whatever reason, we have people who are in a pre-Christmas crisis. The body produces a chemical. It serves two purposes. It can be a hormone, and it can be a neurotransmitter. It's called dopamine. It's produced in the brain, in the nerve cells in the brain, and it's produced in the kidneys. And when we have great expectations like occasion for Christmas, we're going to get that special gift that we told our Santa Claus to bring us. We wrote it down so they wouldn't forget it. And our dopamine levels go up. And anytime we have great anticipation and expectation of something fun and glorious and wonderful is going to happen to us, our dopamine levels will rise. And if Christmas doesn't pan out like we wanted it to, we didn't get to take the trip we wanted, we didn't get the gift we wanted, or some other thing didn't happen like it was supposed to be, then those levels probably drop a little bit. And we get depressed and we get disappointed. We might look upon it as a bit of a post-Christmas crisis, if you will. For those who are severely affected by it, there's that steep, steep drop in their dopamine levels. Parkinson's disease is a disease that you're familiar with. My brother Gene had Parkinson's disease. It's not what killed him, but it was contributory to his death. And low dopamine levels are the problem, and they have to treat those patients with dopamine. The verb tense in the message that Joseph gets here in our text, after the wise men had gone, returned by a different route, this divine messenger that appeared to them appeared to Joseph and in a dream. And the message of the dream was of a message of great urgency. Take the child and his mother, flee to Egypt, and stay there until you are told otherwise. The angel gives him the reason for it, because Herod will seek the young child to destroy. Now, I don't know whether you believe in dreams or not. Sometimes we'll have a dream and we'll get up in the morning, get out of bed, and we'll shrug it off. If it's just a dream. Now, if it's a nightmare, you probably forgot to take hay to bed with you to feed it. But dreams can speak to us. I think God speaks to us in dreams. I think God speaks to you and me in dreams. We wonder often, I never hear God speak. Well, God speaks to us in Holy Scripture. God can speak to us in a friend's message to us. God may speak to us in a sermon, in a message in some way. But maybe we shrug it off. I will tell you, if you have a dream that comes from God, you'll know it. Because it's like no other dream you will ever have. And you won't forget it. It'll stick with you. Its message will penetrate down to the very depths of your soul, I know. I can tell you for sure. This dream came from God to Joseph. Joseph trusted the dream, he trusted the messenger, and he trusted the message. He acted. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He didn't question it. The verb tense is future. Herod will seek the young child. See, God's ahead of the game here. I never think about what if. What if Joseph had not responded to the dream and just shrugged it off, and Herod had actually killed Jesus? What if this happens or that happens? What if? I never go there with this. I don't go too far what if with the Bible. I did preach a sermon once on that subject. What if? What if? Way late in the middle of the night, I had one person to preach to. This man right over here. I bet you remember that too, don't you?
Kind of.
Well, it's been a long time ago. I've never been able to do it again. Milford and I, it was, I don't know where we were. It was late in the morning, and I preached Milford a sermon. What if? I don't get too excited about this business that goes on, about this disaster that's going to happen to us. The world is going to fall apart. If America don't do something, we're all going to die in so many years. We never hear about some other countries got to do something too. We never hear about developing countries have got to make some changes in what they are doing. I don't know why we don't do that. Maybe we're afraid to. See, the world is in the providential care of God. This whole scene that's taking place here is under the providential care of God. It is God who holds the destiny of the world in His hand. Not me. Not politicians. Not activists. It is God. Now don't misunderstand me. We do need to take care of our environment. God has given us that responsibility. God has given us dominion over the earth, not to abuse it, but to use it, and use it carefully and not carelessly. Since the time of creation, there have been, it is estimated, about 108 billion people that have been born. Some estimates go even higher. And of that 108 billion individuals that have been born since the time of creation, there has been only one that has made a drastic change in history. He split history in half. He never wrote a book, he never read a book, but many books and articles continue to be written about this man, Jesus Christ. He split world history. We date events before and after his birth. BC doesn't mean before, well, it does mean before Christ, can be, but it also means BCE, before the common era. And then after he was born, we start using the word AD. It doesn't mean after death. It means anno, it's a Latin phrase, anno Domini, in the year of our Lord. So I don't worry too much about this hoopla, about this or about that, or what's taking place, or what America needs to do. We do need to be careful about our environment. I take care of that. I agree with you. But I thank God, the world's in the hands of God. So Joseph packed up Mary and he's headed south to Egypt. Egypt has played a great part in the history of the Hebrew people for a long, long time. Abraham fled to Egypt because of a famine. Joseph brought his family into Egypt because of a famine. Of course, Joseph was sold into slavery in Egypt. But in both instances, I said, as a famine was the cause of them being in Egypt. But this Joseph, this particular Joseph, the earthly father of Jesus Christ, fled to Egypt for an entirely different reason. First, he was instructed to go to Egypt. And second, the flight to Egypt fulfilled prophecy. Out of Egypt I call my son, said the prophet Hosea chapter 11 verse 1. Joseph and Mary remained in Egypt until Herod died. And he died in 4 BC. And then that's the second scene of this text takes place down in Bethlehem in our little three-act play. And now you take this text, I think, and make a little 3-act play out of it. You get a good writer, you get some actors, some people to act it out, and get you some animals. It costs a lot of money to rent a camel, so you might just have to make a cardboard camel, and you can put this on as a Christmas program in your church. Herod, when he discovered that there had been a new king born and that had been deceived by the Magi, he became exceedingly angry. Now, that is anger to the point of losing self-control. He has reached a post-Christmas crisis. Now, it's interesting to know something about Herod's history. We know he was an evil man, but just how evil is this man? Now, Matthew gives us some little vignettes about it, but Matthew doesn't give us the whole story. It wasn't Matthew's purpose or intent to do that. But history has. He was not a Jew, by the way. He was an Idumean. He was an Edomite. And a long time ago, his grandfather embraced Judaism for whatever reason, maybe because Jews were in control at the time. The Hasmoneans were in control in that intertestamental period, and he wanted to be on the good side of the Hasmoneans, Judas Maccabees and all that group of people. They were in control for a long, long time after they regained control throughout the Syrians. And they rededicated the temple around December the 23rd, 24th, or 25th, somewhere in that range. We call it Hanukkah. He was an opportunist. He befriended Mark Antony in Egypt. And he befriended Octavian in the Western Empire. I want to get on to both sides. Remind me of a story about a man who was dying. He called for his preacher. And the preacher went. And his preacher got to the house. He heard the man hollering, "Oh, good Lord! Oh, good devil!" And the preacher went on into the house. And the closer he got, the louder the hollering. He went into the house, went into the bedroom where the man was, asked him how he was doing, checked on him, and then he asked him a question. He said, "Brother, as I was approaching the house, I heard you hollering, 'Oh, good Lord! Oh, good devil! Why were you doing that?'" The man said, "I don't know where I'm going. I want to get on the good side of both of them." Herod fled to Rome to plead a cause for the kingdom of Israel for a man named Hyrcanus II. Instead, when he got there, the Roman Senate appointed him king. See, they had a special interest in Rome. It had been Jerusalem. It had been captured by the Roman general Pompey in 63 BC. And Jesus remembered this incident. Luke recorded it. A certain nobleman went into a far country to receive for himself a kingdom and to return. And by the time of our text, near the end of his reign, Herod's mental state was in a high degree of disarray. He was just about crazy. He was a schizophrenic maniac. Some say he suffered arteriosclerosis. Arteriosclerosis is a disease, of the arteries. You get hardening of the arteries, and if you get them in the brain bad enough, it'll slow down your blood flow and you lose mental faculty. I think he had low dopamine levels because he was disappointed of what happened. He didn't want this thing to take place. He didn't want another king. He was a paranoid schizophrenic. His sister Salome, not the one who danced and got John the Baptist's head cut off, used it against him. So he wound up killing his wife Marianne. He killed her brother, he killed her grandfather, and he killed her mother. He exiled his wife Doris to some other place, but that's not a problem because he had 8 others. He had 14 children. He changed his will 3 times, disinherited his son Antipater, and eventually killed him. So armed with this kind of information, it is not difficult to us to really understand how Herod could send his henchmen into a village to kill children. If he can kill his own children, he can kill somebody else's as well. He was in no way going to allow a usurper to take his place on the throne. And if he can kill those people's children, he can kill yours too. It fulfilled prophecy in the Old Testament. A voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted for her children because they are no more. Then we come to the last scene of our little drama, which opens up with the news that Herod is dead. 4 BC. Joseph has another divine message that tells him he can go back to Israel. It's time to leave Egypt. Arise, Joseph, and take the young child and his mother. And for Israel, and return to Israel, for those who sought him to kill him are dead. How long have they been there? Well, maybe 3.5 years. 3.5 years. Now, don't keep Jesus in the manger too long. Sometimes we have a tendency. The Bible is extremely compressed. By the time that this story happens, by the time our text gets to where we are now, Jesus is somewhere between 5 and 6 years of age. He's not a baby in a manger anymore. He can talk. He can walk. So when Joseph gets to Israel, there's a guy on the throne there, Archelaus. And he's an evil man as well. He went to the throne when he was 18 years of age. Without even being given any specifics, the historian Josephus records that 2 teachers and 40 students were killed for some reason. And maybe he had something to do with it. And the people would get together in the temple precincts to mourn the loss of these 40 students and 2 teachers. Archelaus was at a feast with his friends, so he sent a general down there and some other people, and finally a tribune with a cohort. Now a cohort, 600 soldiers. To quell the mourning, to stop the disturbance, and the people began to stone the troops and kill them. So after it was over with, they went back to offering sacrifices. We don't know who was doing the sacrifices, some priests maybe. And as a result of this chaos, Archelaus sent in the whole entire army and killed 3,000 of the people. At this time, remember, he's not officially installed as king of Judea, but he seems to be the head man taking charge of things. And when he finally gets to Rome, he is not appointed king, but he's appointed ethnarch, which means he's simply a person over an ethnic group of people. So Judea was one of them. There were a couple of other groups. He reigned 10 years and was eventually exiled to Gaul. But during his reign, he deposed 3 high priests for money. He was an evil man. So for Joseph and Mary to have settled in Jerusalem, well, it can't, again, put Jesus' life in danger. So where did they go? The Bible says they turned aside and went to a place called Galilee, in the little village of Nazareth. Now, outside the New Testament, Galilee or Nazareth is never mentioned. Nazareth, you cannot find it anywhere in the Bible except here in the New Testament. And perhaps we get an insight as to how people felt about this place from Nazareth. Remember when Philip, over in the Gospel of John, when Philip came to Jesus and he discovered, he went to his brother Nathanael and said, Nathanael, we found him. We found the one that the law and Moses talks about. We have found the Christ. His name is Jesus. He's from Nazareth. And Nathanael says, can anything good come out of Nazareth? And that question we remember. If we don't remember anything else about Jesus, we remember that question. It's a haunting question. And of course we know the answer. We can say, yes, it does. But Nathanael at that point, that's the way the things were. So why would the Son of God be relegated to a place so insignificant as a mud hut village? Why would that happen? Why would God do that? Galilee, Jesus' ministry took place in Galilee, most of it. He did go to Jerusalem occasionally. He certainly went on feast and festival days, particularly Passover. He certainly went on those days. But why would God send him to this insignificant village to work in his father's carpenter shop? Very simple reason, that prophecy might be fulfilled. There's one sure thing about biblical prophecy, and that's this. It must be fulfilled. Whatever God has planned, prophecy will be fulfilled. We were talking this morning in Sunday school. We keep wondering when Christ is going to come back, and I don't know, none of us do. But we do know he's coming. Prophecy says there's 3 things that have to take place before that's going to happen. Israel has to be back in Jerusalem. Israel went back to Jerusalem in 1948. Israel has to be successful. And Israel is one of the most successful nations in the world. If you study their economic history, you'll be amazed at how successful they really are. And there has to be peace in the Middle East. That's the one thing that has not yet happened. But if there comes a man on the scene of the history that sets up a situation and circumstances in such fashion that there is peace with Israel in the Middle East, John says in Revelation, it'll only last 3.5 years. And then chaos will set in. We're talking about the Antichrist here, and you would know a lot about the Antichrist. We don't know who he is. Some people say he's born now, he's alive. I don't know where he is. I don't know who he is. That's again in God's providential care. But let us continue to focus our attention on Christmas. Let us not get too depressed if we didn't get what we wanted. And if we got more than we need, maybe we can give some to somebody else. But let's enjoy Christmas. Not just on one day. Let's continue to celebrate for a few more days. I got my lights up. I'm going to put them on tonight. Saw my neighbor yesterday. I told her I was mad at her. Oh, she was, why are you mad at me? I said, you took your Christmas tree down. The little tree sat on the front porch. She lit it up every night. She said, it's just sitting in the garage. I'll put it back up, but she didn't do it. I'll tell her again I'm mad at her. I'm going to keep my lights on till after New Year's probably. A couple more days or so. I'm going to enjoy Christmas. I'm going to enjoy Christmas till the next Christmas. I'm going to enjoy Christmas every day because God came into my life and gave me the greatest gift that anybody could ever give anyone. He gave me the assurity that I'm going to live forever. Amen. He gave me the gift of freedom from my sin. You can't give anybody anything better than that. You can't buy it, you can't steal it, you can't work for it. It's a gift. So let us continue to celebrate Christmas. Let us be excited and joyful over this season as we continue to move forward. New Year's is coming. New Year's is coming. Some of us will make resolutions. I don't. I saw some of us will make a resolution. We're going to lose some weight, or we're going to join a gym and get in shape. And some of us who may need to gain a little weight, we're going to gain some weight. Well, there's a new pill out there to do that. It's called CB1. So we'll either buy lipozene or we'll buy CB1. We'll either lose weight or we'll gain weight. Our option. Let us celebrate Christmas continually. Let us not get into a crisis situation where Christmas is a drag for us. I'm going to stand. We're going to stand and sing our final hymn. And if you need to come and pray about some issue in your life, our altar is open. If God's speaking to you to do something, I hope that you'll respond to that as we stand and sing. And by the way, just as an announcement, I'll tell you in a minute.